Hello everyone! Today we will be diving into our development environment, Roblox Studio. I'll explain some components and what they do, but most things I will cover in later lessons. Lots of things may confuse you or you might not understand, but most of these things we will go over later on. So today, we will go over learning your Integrated Development Environment, commonly abbreviated, IDE. An IDE is an environment that you work on, code on, etc. In our case it is Roblox Studio. We will be talking about what you see when opening Roblox Studio. We will talk about the components inside Studio. We will discuss the different studio settings with a brief description of what they do. We will talk about publishing a game in Roblox Studio with a brief overview of the elements. So let's go open Roblox Studio. I am already logged in. If you aren't logged in already, please do so. We will begin with this new category. Inside we see all templates, theme, and gameplay. These are starting places for starting your game or game place. All templates, as given, provides a template for all the places you want to start off with. If we look into themes, we can see pre-built places that you can build off of with scripts or models or etc. Gameplay places have pre-built games with starter scripts and starter places in case you want a head start. Next is the My Games category. My Games show all the places that you have created yourself that you own under your Roblox character. These are published places available online under your Roblox profile. Private places mean only you or certain people can access your place. Public is open to everyone, mostly. If you are in any groups with permissions to access and manipulate group places, Group Games displays all the places your group owns that you have access of. You can change the group owner to filter by group. Lastly is the Shared with Me tab. The Shared with Me allows you to access any place that your friend has given you access to edit. To open one of your places, you simply have to click on them. There is also a search bar that uses regex, string patterns, to search for your places by common letters. We will cover regex and string patterns when we get to scripting. The recent shows recent games and places that you have worked on. Local file means it is on your hard disk. If it says private or public, it is online on the Roblox Studio. Archive has games you have archives and put away. It isn't publicly visible on your profile and can only be seen or found in this area. So starting out, we will just create a new baseplate. This is your Roblox Studio. Yours may look similar or different to mine, depending on how you arrange your views and windows. So here we are in Roblox Studio. You have your general baseplate. You can use A, W, S, D or your arrows keys to pan around. Basically what you see is your camera. And using either a WSD or arrow keys will cause your camera to move forward, backwards, or side to side. You can rotate the angle of your camera by using your mouse to right-click and drag. The top right corner is a block which displays the origin as well as default orientation. The origin is the center of the whole place. It is where all the X, Y, and Z axis meet. The block provides default camera orientations with respect to the world. You have front, back, left, right, and top, and bottom. These orientations will be important in modeling and building. We will start with the Home tab. The Home tab has your most commonly used functions from the other tabs. We will be going over these elements out of order since some cannot work without the other. Let's start with Terrain Editor since it is fairly standalone. You can drag windows around to your liking. The Terrain Editor is for generating, importing, or clearing terrain on your place. We will have a whole lesson on Terrain Editor in the future. We will talk about the toolbox next. The toolbox is for inserting models, images, meshes and stuff from the inventory. The left tab is free models available to the public. The second option is from your inventory. These include anything you bought or downloaded or made yourself. Recent is for things you have made. Lastly, creations are creations you have made. A part is basically a block. With the Select tool selected, you can move it around. You can move it along the world axis by selecting the Move tool. The Scale tool allows you to scale the block to differentiating sizes. The Rotate tool allows you to rotate the block along the axis. We will explore this more eventually when we get to basic modeling. Since these four tools are used so often, you can use the HOTS Control, +1, 2, 3, 4 respectively to navigate the tools. The Material and Color is for coloring your parts and texturing them. Turning on collisions allow objects to collide with other ones. Constraints allow objects to apply forces of physics upon its attachments. We will go over this later. Enabling Join Surfaces enables connected parts to automatically join and stick together. The group icon allows you to group elements together. When grouping, the group will be grouped as a model. The lock locks the model to the map so you can't move or change it without unlocking. The anchor tool anchors the part to the world space. When you play the map, the anchored part will remain fixed to where it is located in the world space. The play button is for playing solo. It created a game instance of the place that you play on your own for your own testing purposes. While playing, you can pause the playthrough whether it's examining a possible pause or something you are expecting or some other purpose. You can also resume the playthrough. Stopping the playthrough will stop the test. Team test is for group testing with others. You need a group with access as well as enabling team create. It creates an instance of the server as well as a client for each player. The exit game button ejects everyone in the team test. Onto the model tab. A lot of these we have covered already, but I will talk about the ones we have not covered yet. The transform tool allows you to freely change the movement, scale, and rotation of an element. The rotate and move options allow you to move, rotate and scale to a finer degree. This would be based on the world grid. The surface tool changes the type of surface of a given side of a block. We will go more in depth over this in the future during our basic modeling episode. A union is for combing two or multiple parts together. A negate part creates a negative part. When you combine a negate part with another part, the negate part is negated from the part, creating a hole in the part the shape of the negate part. Constraints and welds are for creating relationships between parts, whether it is how they affect each other with respect to physics, how they stick together, and etc. This is a complicated part that we will go more in depth later. Effects is a bit more complicated to discuss at this moment, but you can create particles, explosions, lighting, and other effects that we will discuss in the future. Spawn creates a spawn point. Insert object provides a window with a list of all the objects you can insert. Model is for importing models from your PC. Service is for inserting a service. Collision groups are various groups you create yourself that can only collide with each other, or to specifications. Run script runs just the selected script. Script, local script, and module script create instances of a version of a script. We will go over the differences when we get into scripting. Now for the test tab. We already covered play, pause, resume, and stop. What start servers and clients does is creates instances of the client on your machine hosted on a local server that is also on your machine. The number of clients you create is dependent on the number of players. You can use this for stress testing or other important things or concepts. Cleanup cleans up and removes all instances of clients and servers. The device button allows you to emulate on different device screens. This would help with testing, especially UIs/GUIs. Player emulator emulates a player that would basically be a bot with certain test capabilities. We won't really use this much. Audio should be straightforward. Muting mutes in-game audio so you can't hear it. Now we move on to the view category. This Show tab is for enabling and showing different windows on your screen. A lot of these are pretty useful. The 4 windows I highly suggest enabling are Explorer, Properties, Game Explorer, and Output. All the other ones are optional. For the actions, View Selector displays this origin and different camera views you can default to on the top right. Full Screen sets your screen to full screen Roblox Studio. Screenshot takes a screenshot of your screen. Video Record records your current screen. For place settings, you can use Show Grid to separate the place into a grid pattern as you see here. You can scale it as well. Showing the grid material helps visualize as you spread things out and notice distances. Switching windows is too straightforward, allows you to switch to other windows. Stats allow you to view various game stats. Clear hides all the stat visuals. Now onto the Plugins tab. When you open the Plugins tab, you will not have as many icons open. Generally, since you start out with no plugins, this tab should be fairly empty. You will just have Manage Plugins and Plugins folder. Manage Plugins allows you to view your plugins. You can update plugins or enable/disable them. If you have any downloaded plugins, the Plugins folder allows you to import any plugins you own from your computer. I will go over my suggestion of plugins later on. At the top over here, you have your quick access buttons. New creates a new place, Undo undoes a change you made. Redo reverts the undo. Then here I have Play Solo and Stop. If you wish to change or customize your quick access buttons, you can do this through this arrows. Now, I will go over the File menu and how to adjust the settings then to publishing a game. A lot of these you would have seen in other applications, but I will still briefly go over them all. New creates a new place. Open from file opens from a file on your machine. Open from Roblox opens from your Roblox profile. Close file closes the place. Save to file saved your place. Save to file as is your save as to save as a new place on your machine. Save to Roblox and save to Roblox as are similar, but saves to your profile. Publish to Roblox publishes to a game that is live on Roblox. Let's look at settings. Be careful when changing or modifying these settings as they could cause Roblox to become unstable. But I will still go over most of it. Lots of these things may be confusing, but do not worry much about it. We will skip game options and talk about that when we get to publishing a game. So let us start with Lua. Lua is the language that Roblox is based in. Lua settings has to do with scripts. So this diagnostic just tells you when a script starts. Wait refers to how many seconds a wait call would take. In this case default is about 0.03 seconds. If you make wait shorter, you could come to risks such as infinite loops or processing time that is too fast that it would crash your system. Waiting threads budget is the percentage of the Roblox pipeline cycle that can be used to resume waiting Lua threads. The duty cycle refers to Roblox's task scheduler. In diagnostics, an instance considers every part, object, etc. in the place. A player is a player. The data model is considered the overarching root of the architecture. Basically, if you consider everything inside of a game, the data model is the model that encompasses all of this. It is more commonly known as game. 1 means true, 0 means false, 3 is probably unknown. Job count represents number of active jobs in the data model. Report sound warnings just tells you whether or not to report warning relating to sound. Roblox version is the current client version of the Roblox client. Tick count precise override sets the sampling method to measure time that is consistent across all platforms. In physics, allow sleep determines whether to stop physically simulated objects when they receive little to no motion after a certain period of time. Physics environmental throttle represents the throttle rate of the Roblox physics engine. Throttle adjust time represents the maximum time the environmental throttle has to wait before it can change. The rest of these options are for controlling displaying certain elements. You probably don't need most of these as much unless analyzing certain aspects of models and movement. Studio settings are probably the most important settings to look at, that is specifically for Roblox Studio, aka your development environment. Camera speed controls the camera speed in studs per second that your camera moves when movement keys are pressed. Camera shift speed controls camera speed in studs per second when shift is pressed. By default, it just lets you pan at a slower speed unless you adjust these settings. Camera mouse wheel controls camera when scrolling with the mouse. This is generally much faster. Camera zoom to mouse position allows you to zoom in or move the camera in the direction of where your mouse is in the window. Default script file directory is where your scripts will save by default. Plugins directory is where your Roblox plugins will be located by default. Override core scripts directory is where your script overrides will be located that will override your scripts if the checkbox down here is checked. Local assets folder is where your assets are kept on your local machine. For general, I suggest enabling always save script changes so you don't lose any data should your computer shut down or some other unfortunate event. Basic objects display mode is how you want your objects to display when you click Insert Object. Render throttle percentage scales how much rendering will be throttled/slowed down when the game is not being focused. It is intended for internal use, so ignore. Language is your local language you want your studio to be set to. Theme is color theme. I would ignore the first 3 options regarding hovering. You can change the colors if you would like. Select color is when the option is selected. As you can see here, the selected options are blue. Active color is when you select or activate something, generally a button for a window of some sort. These next options are for when you are scripting. Font is the font style, size, and weight of your text when you are coding. Tab width represents how many spaces a tab press is worth. Text wrapping allows text to, instead of hang off the screen and requiring you to scroll, it continues on the next line. Show width e-space shows spaces. Ignore rulers. Format on type formats your special keywords while you are typing instead of after you finish typing. Auto indent indents automatically on new lines. I suggest leaving this setting as is, as well as the other automated options for quality of life. Auto recovery is for when your studio or computer crashes and you may lose some work. The auto recovery holds versions of your previous work through autosaves in the auto recovery path folder. Auto recovery automatic saves your place in the selected folder. Auto recovery interval represents the length of time that may pass before it auto saves. I suggest enabling this if you have the space. Script editor colors are for editing the different colors in your script. I won't really go over these in this class unless you guys feel like asking. I might make a separate video for the colors, we shall see. Your output is down here. These settings control what your output would look like. My output might look a bit different from yours, but that is because I have enabled some beta permissions that are only available to beta members. You can ignore browsing for now. Show core packages shows core Roblox packages in your Explorer. Show diagnostics shows your resources at the bottom or top, depending on how you set it up. Respect Studio shortcuts when game has focus allows you to use Studio HOTS despite being in a game instance or simulation. Drag multiple parts as a single part is straightforward / Show Qt warnings shows warnings regard Roblox's Qt network. You can ignore this. For primary part, select / hover color is the color of the part when selected or hovered over. Line thickness is how thick its edges will display. Lua Debugger helps you find bugs in your code. I highly suggest enabling this. Plugin debugging enabled is for plugins. You do not really need this unless testing your own plugins. Script timeout length is the amount of time that should elapse with no response from a script before it is automatically terminated. This is helpful for infinite loops in code or infinite waits that may cause your program to freeze or crash. The rest of the options can be ignored. The Explorer options are for the Explorer window on the left. Network appearance is for displaying network activity. The diagnostics provide statistics regarding the network. This is unimportant to us. Rendering is very unstable if you mess it up. I suggest leaving this alone. The only option you might modify is the graphics mode, which refers to what kind of graphics you want to use. The most common ones are Direct 3D, Fukan, and OpenGL. Leave Task Scheduler to Roblox. It is much easier to let it handle these sorts of things. Given how long this lecture has gone, I will talk about Explorer and properties on another day. Now we will just jump straight into publishing a place and game options. Let's go back to settings. Game options refers to your in-game options in your browser. You can ignore the first part. The chat refers to your in-game chat. Chat history is the number of lines of previous stated messages that you can read. You can report abuse within the provided lines of chat history. Be aware that chat messages take space, so you should leave these settings as is. Bubble chat max bubbles is how many bubbles can display at once. Bubble chat lifetime represents how long your chat bubble will display above you. Please note these settings are only for you and no one else. Video quality refers to video recording quality. We can ignore these other things. So let's go publish a place. Go to File, Publi. Age to Roblox as. You can override an existing game if you would like. I will create a new game. When publishing, you need to provide some basic info. Provide the name of the place. A description for the place is optional. Decide the creator, whether it is yourself or a group. Genre is for helping people find your game if it is of a certain genre or category. Devices, if for what devices you want your game to be available for. Now let us view the game settings. If you click on Game Settings, you can see the basic info you provided earlier. You can update and make any change you would like here. You can add a game icon. I'll just use this one. You can add up to 10 screenshots and videos for people to preview on your game. This is what you first see when you go to a Roblox place or game. Permissions should be straightforward. Game owner allows you to specify permissions for certain people, friends, or groups. You can change specific permissions for others. Someone from Twitch, give me your Roblox user. You can whisper it if you want. So you can add collaborators by adding their name. If it says you need to enable Team Create, you can find Team Create over here under the View tab. You can give them only play permissions for exclusive friends, or edit permissions. Monetization is basically developer products like game passes or in-game purchases. Security is for enabling certain options. I am just going to enable this first two. Places is for if you have multiple places. Or maps to your game, you can connect them in here or add more. Place version is for version control. Avatar, you can set preferences for player avatars. These are some easy automatic overrides. We will probably be making our own avatars, so we can ignore this. Underworld, these preset settings provides initial setting preferences, or you can manually change them to affect your game physics. Under options, you can allow others to work on the same scripts or shut down all servers. Updated servers are only on new servers. To move everyone onto a new server, generally you have to either forcibly shut down all servers or automatically close old servers by removing all of the players in it. This concludes today's lesson. If you would like to check out the topic list, you can use these commands. I also added 2 other commands that accomplish the same purpose but are shorter. You can abbreviate Roblox Game Dev to RGD. You can contact me through these links. Lastly, I have a question for you all. Do you guys want me to do lectures before we get into working on the game, or do them along the way? Please let me know in the Google form provided. One more question. Do you guys want me to create a Roblox group for us and to host our game? Please let me know in chat.